Hi there, it's Realtor Robyn, and I'm here today in my home office in what is going to be the first of what I'm hoping to be many real estate talks I'm going to be sharing with my friends on YouTube and also on Facebook. Yesterday I made a post saying that I was going to be starting these little mini-series about real estate. And we're going to be covering a lot of topics. I'm going to try to keep each one of these short. I'm not going to bombard you with 20, 30 minutes of information at a time. So I'm hoping to keep each clip probably around 5 minutes or so. But the one thing I did want to explain to you before we cover the various topics I'm going to be discussing is why I decided to start doing these. One of the main reasons is because a lot of you, and I do mean a lot of you, which is a great thing, have been reaching out to me primarily on Facebook, asking me questions about the Charlotte area. And one disclaimer that I am going to make before we even start any of these talks is that I am only going to be discussing the laws, real estate liability, transactions, how real estate is done in North and South Carolina, because that's where I'm currently licensed. I've heard from a lot of people that real estate in other markets, we have 50 states, it seems to vary widely. I don't know what agent responsibilities are in New Jersey and California and Florida. So anything that I discuss, please keep in mind that I'm talking about the North Carolina market specifically, because that's what I specialize in, that's where my expertise in, that's what I've been doing for the past 10 years. Many of you know I'm a Bronx girl. I started my real estate career in Staten Island, but the last 10 years of my life, I've been doing real estate in North Carolina, and we'll be focusing on North Carolina exclusively. So one of the reasons why I decided to start these is because a lot of you were asking me questions about relocating to Charlotte. So you have relocation questions. You have questions about the Charlotte market. Some of my sellers out there have questions about home values. Buyers want to know what value and what are the roles that a buyer agent plays in the buying transaction. Another question that I have a lot of people asking me quite often is, should I get into the real estate industry? I have friends that are recently licensed and friends that want to know what it is like being a realtor. What are your days involved? So I am going to start today talking about buyer agency and what I do in my transactions and what's expected of a buyer agent. Now, one thing that may be of a surprise to you is that there was not always buyer agency. There was a time when we had buyer beware laws. And as a matter of fact, I've heard from some people, some states are still like that. In my opinion, one of the best things that was ever instituted was allowing buyers to have their own representation. Imagine going into a trial and only one person has an attorney and the other doesn't. Doesn't seem very fair, does it? So I love representing buyers. I represent both buyers and sellers, but I'm talking specifically today about buyer agency, and I will be doing another episode talking about what I do for sellers as well. Now, another reason why I started this, my first list of reasons was positive. My second list of reasons is a little bit more negative. And part of it is because sometimes I feel I have to defend myself in my industry. Unfortunately, public perception of realtors isn't always that high. And I love the fact that I have so many. There's probably a few hundred of you, at least maybe 200 of you on my friends list that are either past or current clients. I would say half of my client base now is referrals. So I work with a lot of people that are referring family and friends to me, and I appreciate that because it makes me realize the value that you've seen and that you do realize that a realtor does offer a lot of value in a transaction. So one of the things that I do want to discuss, and this is something that I took to heart, I guess, a little bit recently, was I was on a thread that was discussing realtors and certain experiences people have had. And one gentleman, again, I don't know what market he was in, but one gentleman made a statement where he said that his realtor basically wrote a one-page contract and he didn't see him again until the closing, where he said, quote unquote, his realtor had his big payday. My main question is, where do you live? Goodness, I am working sometimes, 60, 70 hours a week, and I see my clients constantly in a transaction. So I feel bad he had his experience, but I also realize there are so many misconceptions about realtors. Whenever I watch television, I always see these realtors showing up to show a property in a fancy sports car. They're dressed to the nines. They walk in and they go, oh my gosh, would you look at this gourmet kitchen? Would you look at that view? Oh my goodness, look at all this natural sunlight. Would you like to make an offer? Thanks, Hollywood. Thanks for giving us another gross misrepresentation and stereotype of what realtors are like. So let me tell you a little bit about the rundown being a buyer agent. Now, the way a lot of my clients reach out to me is they find me on my website, they find me through Zillow, they find me through Redfin. Half of you come to me directly as a referral from a family member or a friend that has used me already. Now, if someone contacts me and they reach out to me on the internet, more than likely they have found a property that they would already like to see. So one of the arguments is that now with the advent of Zillow, Trulia, etc., it could render us obsolete. I kind of laugh at that notion because I don't understand how you're going to have a transaction without having an expert and not having a human touch involved. Even if it just means having somebody that's walking you through the process, answering phone calls, answering text messages, explaining contracts to you. Well, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but when buyers do reach out and they find properties online, some of the argument is that, well, they're finding the property before they even call the realtor. 30, 40 years ago, most realtors had a book and they would find their listings in the book, and that's how you would find a home, is because only the realtors had access to them. There was no such thing as MLS and no such thing as MLS feeds being fed out to Zillow, Redfin, Trulia, etc. But here's the thing. 90 to 95% of people that reach out to me on that first property they want to see do not purchase that property. They have just started, they're putting their feelers out. They want, in most cases, to meet an agent. And what happens is, once I've met that person and shown them that home, now is when the process really starts to begin, or I should say does begin. Because after talking with that person, finding out their needs, what school district are you looking in? Where's your job relocated? How much of a commute are you looking for? What is your time frame? We have to talk about loan programs. What loans work with what homes? You cannot purchase a home with every different type of loan program. There are so many questions that I have to ask now to try to pair that person with the right property. So yes, have I ever had a person purchase the first home that they called me on? It's happened to me twice. In every other transaction, most buyer's agents wind up showing 10, 12, 15, 20, 30 properties to someone before they decide to purchase one. When we're dealing with people relocating, I've had clients I've worked with for 6 months to a year before they made their final relocation. It involves taking them around Charlotte. Again, checking out school districts for them, trying to find out information if they're using a relocation company or not. Oh, do you like the south side of Charlotte? Do you like the north side of Charlotte? Would you like to check out Highland Creek, Ballantyne, Huntersville, Lake Norman, Lake Wiley? There's so many areas to choose from. Let's take a few weekends out throughout the year, drive around, look at different neighborhoods and see which ones you like the best. So people don't often realize how much of an investment that we have with a lot of our buyers before we even wind up completing the transaction. And you've got to realize also, the gentleman that made the comment about the one-page contract, North Carolina, and people out there that have done transactions with me can attest to this. How many forms, disclosures, and addendums do we have in North Carolina? North Carolina is a state that wants to make sure everything is disclosed. We have the NC purchase contract, which is 13 pages. We have buyer agency agreements, working with real estate agents. If you're selling your home before you have to purchase, or I should say selling your home before you can purchase one, you've got contingent sale addendums. So we also have to walk you through how the contingency works. We have FHA and VA addendums. If you're doing a particular type of loan, we have addendums where you have to disclose that to the seller. There are so many forms that are involved. Property disclosures, mineral oil and gas. I've had documents probably totaling about 36 to 40 pages in one offer that I'm submitting to the listing side. So there's a lot of contracts that your buyer agent is going to walk you through. They have to explain due diligence periods to you, earnest money. If you're in a multiple offer situation, do you have an agent that knows how to navigate multiple offer situations? Do they know what points to look for, what points to put on a contract, what a seller is looking for in a multiple offer situation to try to get your offer noticed and accepted? There are so many nuances that are involved in buyer agency, and a lot of people just don't understand how that works. Communicating with your clients. I tend to be a little bit of a workaholic. One of the jokes that my husband Frank likes to make is that 90% of the time when he's at dinner with me or he's out with me, all he sees are my eyelids. Get it? All he sees are my eyelids, because I am always on my phone. I never want my clients to feel like I'm not available for them. At midnight, yeah, I may not be as likely to answer a phone call or a text, but as a buyer's agent, your buyers want you to be available. I always try to make sure I answer a call in 24 hours, and if you know me, it's probably going to be a lot sooner than that. There are just so many things I want to explain. I know I'm hitting a lot longer on this. I'm probably going to be approaching a little bit over 10 minutes on this, but I kind of want people to understand what is involved with buyer agency. If you were getting into a transaction I think your buyer agent is going to be invaluable in helping you just navigate the process. I mean, I think I've probably already described a lot of things to you many of you are not familiar with. Like I said, due diligence periods, earnest money, looking at the comps before you even submit an offer. You know, how much should you be offering on this property? What if you hit an appraisal issue? Who's going to help you with your repair negotiations if there's any issues, and they always come up on an inspection? Again, there's just so many things involved in the process that I kind of want people to understand. And even if you're considering a career in real estate, I kind of want you to understand that, keep in mind, everything that I just named off, you're not just doing for one client. In a month, you could be doing this for 5 clients. You could be doing it for 10 clients, 12 clients. So I kind of want people to understand that when you read these articles out there now that are talking about automating the home buying process, you know, I really want you to take it with a grain of salt, whether or not this is something that a computer is ever going to be able to do for a person. Is a computer going to be able to walk you through this? Is a computer going to also become a friend to you? You know, I try to make home buying fun, and anybody out there that has purchased a home with me or sold a home with me, I'm pretty sure the fact that you're still on my friends list and you still like my posts, and I still get invitations from past clients to events that they're having, which just warms my heart that so many of you are still friends with me. I would like you to feel that I wasn't just a salesperson in the transaction, I was a consultant, because that's my job. My job is to consult you, offer you my expertise, offer you the experience I have from doing hundreds of transactions. So again, I'm really hoping that that gives you a little bit better of an idea of what buyer's agents do. If any of you have questions or you want me to go a little bit more in depth, which I do plan on doing, I have no problem doing a complete episode on the due diligence period. I'm also going to be covering topics such as, I'm going to be going into this a little bit more, the public's perception of realtors. I'm going to be covering relocating. I definitely want to talk more about relocation because I have so many people that have relocated, are relocating, and asking me about relocating. So we're going to discuss relocations. We're going to discuss investments, the Charlotte market, and I'm also going to be talking a little bit more about seller agency because I want people to understand what it means when you are being represented by an agent on the selling side. So with that being said, I hope you have enjoyed the first of, like I said, I hope to be many episodes. And please feel free, if you have questions you specifically want me to address on these episodes, message me, put something on my wall, call me, just give me some ideas of things that you'd like to hear. But I probably have at least another 10 topics in my mind already that I'm going to be covering on some future episodes. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I cannot wait to hear your feedback. Bye-bye.